Thank you very much for that. Whew. Where to start? You're building in Saudi, you're building in New York on the World Trade Center site on Ground Zero. You've got 1 foot in each camp, so to speak. What kind of insights have this given you?
You know, when we started working in Saudi Arabia, I think for me and for many others at the office, we had a lot of preconceptions about who Saudi Arabians were, what Saudi Arabian culture was, and most of those preconceptions were very negative. I have to say that I've never met such a most enthusiastic bunch of people as the people working in Saudi. They really are passionate about the building, they're passionate about doing something good, about moving forward, about achieving something new. So that has been a really positive experience. On the other hand, working in New York has been a little bit negative because it's been full of politics. Saudi Arabia actually hasn't been full of politics. It's been a very simple situation. Having a foot in both camps is an interesting way of putting it. You know, we have lots of visits from Saudi presidents and vice presidents. Every time they go to New York, they want to go onto the Ground Zero site. It's quite difficult to get them passes to go onto the site, especially when they come with names like Bin Laden or Abdulaziz.
The Bin Laden family, just give us some background to that.
Well, I only mentioned Bin Laden family because I didn't talk about it today, but we did have a project in Mecca for a library in Mecca. Quite an interesting job to do as a novelist, because it's a place you'd never get to go, never get to see your building when it's finished. And the client for that building is Mr. Bin Laden, brother of Osama Bin Laden. So very interesting to talk to the older brother and then go to New York to work with his younger brothers taking part in. I think it's all part of culture. You know, they're building culture in Saudi Arabia, they're building culture in New York, and as such, it's the same thing.
They've been in a great hurry in New York, haven't they, to rebuild the site?
Well, you say a hurry.
I see a possible development circumventing the on-site contractors. What do you think of such a... Is there a possibility for something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility, absolutely a possibility. As I said, it gives us the chance to make prototypes, to make mock-ups, to work in one-to-one. If there's a part of the building that's very difficult with a robot, you can make it. So the contractor can't come and say, well, you can't make it. You can make it, and you can give it to him. I think it's a huge asset, you know, but it's really about aesthetics. It's about how you design buildings and how you want to work with the materials. And having different pieces of technology really just mean that you can work with a bigger range of possibilities. I don't think that if we hadn't had the robot, I don't think we would have made the reindeer center the way we made the reindeer center. It's really quite that simple. We'd have done something else. Well, when we just had a laser cutter, we worked a lot with planes and this sort of thing. If you have a 3D plotter, which we also have, you can build shapes, build forms in a different way. With the robot, you cut and you form the way that's best for the robot, and that just gives you a different aesthetic point of view. It just gives you the opportunity to work with material in a slightly different way. But I do think that it gives us the opportunity to get involved in the production process, to get involved as we did with the factory, the woodworking factory. You know, there's a very direct link, and I think that's a very, very good thing. Having direct links with manufacturers, with people who actually produce and make things, I think is really essential to what we do. You saw the work we did with Sela in Saudi Arabia or with GIG in Alexandria. It's the same thing, is working one-to-one with someone who's making something. And if we can interact directly into their process, then that's ideal. That certainly seems to be one way of doing it. So the computer model is becoming more and more interesting, I think. When we first started with computers, they were a negative thing for many of us. You know, you couldn't put the sketch into the machine, it wasn't physically possible. Now you can. The world isn't just digital anymore. It's digital, analog, analog, digital. You could make a model with your hands, scan that model in, you can then work with the scanned digital version in the computer, and then from the robot make a new physical model, and then change that, and the whole process goes around and around again. So it's getting more and more interesting, I think, this relationship between the digital and the analog. So I see more and more that it's possible to work with a sketch, or with your hands, or modeling, and there's no boundary between the computer and the digital world, the screen, and what you're actually making. So I'm very positive about our involvement in production.
The Ranger Pavilion is interesting, I think, from a very Norwegian point of view, because it's, I've always thought of Norwegian architecture as having its strength in being able to combine new technique with a sense of the old. There's always this a strong tradition in Norway for the old. And I think the Ranger Pavilion really captures that. This treatment of the wood and...
Well, there's a song called Norwegian Wood, isn't it good? And certainly building with logs, you do it here as much as we did in Norway, I think, but this idea that you can work with the solid material, the real wood, it's really a rather massive way of building. Certainly has a link to tradition.
Yeah. We have time for at least one more question, if you have one. Well, in that case, thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much.